Hello, my name is Bob Wilson. I'm a rock climbing instructor and I'm currently working towards my MCI, my mountaineer climbing instructor. And I've been spending the last year during lockdown putting the final touches on what I need to do in order to be secure about my emergency rope work. So I thought one of the best ways to do that would be to see if I could teach it. And so I'm going to put a little video series together just to try and teach you how to do the things that I've learned over the last year. So the first one that I'm going to do today is how to escape the system when your anchors are out of reach, when you can't reach your anchors, so that you can then set up an abseil to get down to your friend who might be injured or unconscious or just can't make it up and needs somebody to keep them company. Okay, so the first thing that you need to do then is that you need to be able to tie off your belay plate. So I'll quickly show you how I do that. So I take a small loop and I put it through the back bar of your belay carabiner. I then take a long loop through that loop, pull it out to about arm's length, pull that tight, and then I take that loop and I pass it under and through the carabiner again, and then I include the dead rope, put it through the loop and dress the knot, and there we go, easy as you like. Okay, so having tied off your belay plate, the next thing that we need to do is, because our anchors are out of reach, we need to create another anchor that's just a little bit closer, that we can use, just a temporary anchor, in order to be able to get ourselves out of the system. And how we're going to do that is we're going to take a 120 centimetre sling and we're going to wrap that as a Klemheist Prusik around all the ropes that are behind us. So I'll wrap it around and you use the whole of the 120 centimetre sling in order to wrap around and create as big a Prusik as you can, and then you tie it as a Klemheist. So a Klemheist is just another form of Prusik, and this time you wrap it all the way around the rope lots and lots of times, and then you take the bottom of the sling and you pass it up through the top of the sling and then pull it down tight. Okay, so I'll put a carabiner on that, and the next thing that I need to do is I then need to create a Prusik on the loaded rope. So this is the one that your mate is on, so he's hanging on it at the moment, so you want to create a Prusik on that rope. So this one needs to be releasable, and so you just create that as a normal Prusik. So where the Klemheist was non-releasable under load, the normal Prusik is completely releasable under load, and you wrap it round probably about 5 or 6 times on a 6mm Prusik, and then you bring both loops together and put a carabiner through them. So having done that, you then need to link the two one to the other with a sling of the appropriate length. Okay, so I'm using a 60 centimetre sling here, but 120 with an overhand knot would be fine. And then having linked them together with a sling, you can then attach yourself to the temporary anchor, which is the one from the Klemheist on the 120 centimetre sling. So attach yourself to that on some sort of lanyard. So this is an improvised lanyard that I'm using. So any 120 centimetre sling will be fine for an improvised lanyard, and you simply put it as a cow's tail through your belay loop and then tie a knot in it to the appropriate length so that you can tie it, so that you can clip it via a carabiner onto your Klemheist, which is obviously your temporary anchor. I quite like these ropes because they've got a bit of give in them, so they've got a bit of dynamic give. Okay, so we don't want to put all of our mate's life on a 6mm Prusik, so we need to tie our main climbing rope back onto the temporary anchor, which is made by the Klemheist Prusik. So we tie that on with an Italian hitch. Some people call an Italian hitch a Munter hitch, but it's essentially 2 loops folded over each other like a book, and then you clip it onto your carabiner and make sure your carabiner is done up and tie it off. Okay, so having tied off the Italian hitch, the next thing that we want to do is we want to get ourselves out the system. So we load the Prusic by untying the tied off belay plate very carefully so that it doesn't shock load. Tie it off, untie it, and then release the weight onto the Prusic. Now at this point I like to take hold of the dead rope on the Italian hitch, just so that I've got hold of something. So I release it out and then I take all the slack in on the Italian hitch. It's a good idea at this point to put it on your harness because you're going to untie at some point, and what I find that I do all the time is that I untie my rope loop and the belay plate just falls off. Okay, so put it on your harness, and then once you put it on your harness, you can then take in all the slack of the Italian hitch and then tie that Italian hitch off. So the next thing that we've got to do, having done all that, we don't want to abseil off of that temporary climb hoist. So I'm tied into the system, so I can untie myself from the system. So take out my double figure of 8, but I'm not going to take out the first figure of 8. I'm just going to untie myself from it, and then I'm going to rethread that first figure of 8 so that the original carabiner that was the central carabiner for the belay setup, so that stays in the system. So effectively what I've done is I've just taken out the rethreaded part of the figure of 8. This way we know that we're going to be roughly in the same place as we were beforehand, so we know that our anchors are going to come loaded again in pretty much the same place as they were. So we rethread that. So now instead of me being in the system, I've just got a loop which is threaded through the central carabiner, and I want to leave that at a reasonable size, maybe so that you can get your hand through it. You'll see why in a minute, because we've got 2 or 3 carabiners that we're going to clip onto that new central point. Once it's rethreaded, we've now got a new master point, and so it's just a case of transferring pretty much everything onto that new master point. So the first thing I'm going to transfer is myself. Because I've got the improvised lanyard, I've got a bit on the end, and so I can just switch that over bit by bit. So I'm transferred over myself. The next thing that I need to transfer over is the Italian hitch. Now I left the Prusic deliberately loaded so that I didn't have to reload it again and unload it and perhaps lose some slip. So I'd left it deliberately loaded. So the next thing that I do is put a new carabiner onto the new power point, and on that power point I then tie another Italian hitch. That allows me then to untie the original Italian hitch. So untie that. So it is an important point to note that you never let go of the dead rope when you're doing this. So even when you're untying everything, you never let go of the dead rope. So you're always holding the rope as if you were belaying. And let the slack go out until it's out of the system, and again make sure that you hold on to the dead rope of the new Italian hitch, so when you take in the slack you don't have too much slack in the system, just in case that Prusic was to go. Okay, so you've now got the new Italian hitch. You take in all the slack and tie that off. So taking in all the slack, tie that off, take it in as tight as you can, tie it off. Okay. A slippery hitch and 2 half hitches are usually enough, but I usually put in 3. And then now that you've tied it off, you can release that Prusic onto it. So release the Prusic onto it. So all the weight should now be on your climbing rope, none on the Prusic. So you can take that Prusic off. You now find that you've got nothing on the climb hoist, and so you can take that climb hoist off. And so you've now got a new setup where you're out the system, and you've got a new power point, so you can set that up for an abseil, and off you go to get down to your mate or down to the ground or wherever you need to get to. Hope that was helpful. If you enjoyed this video, then you might want to subscribe to these, and if you If you like it, give me the thumbs up. If you don't like it, then give me the thumbs down. If you get any comments, then put something in the comments and I'll try and get back to you. Thanks ever so much. As I say, these are learning videos for me. I hope you found them really helpful. If you want to find definitive videos, I would suggest that you go to JB Mountain Skills. Jez is an amazing video creator and really knows what he's doing. He's a qualified MCI for years, and if you really want to check up on all these things, then go across. He's got videos on all of these things. Thanks ever so much. Take care. Hope you're well. Bye bye.